Hi, ArcfieldWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday morning, April the 21st. Still have some active weather over the next couple of weeks with additional cold air outbreaks coming from Canada into the U.S. and this overall active weather pattern will unfortunately likely produce some more severe weather outbreaks during the next couple of weeks. We had some severe weather this past weekend. It was really centered over Oklahoma and Texas during the day on Saturday, and then kind of shifted to the north and east. Places like Illinois, Missouri got some tornado activity. And again, that's with the typical clash of air masses over the middle part of the nation, this time with cold air to the north and west, slowly moving into the south and east and clashing with warmer and more humid air to the south and east. And we'll kind of take a look at the overall pattern and how that could repeat itself on occasion here during the next couple of weeks. Again, still an active weather pattern across the nation. Here's the forecast map from last night's zero-Z run of the GFS for total precipitation amounts during the next 10 days or so. And this is not an atypical kind of a pattern here where the southwestern states relatively dry. We may see this quite a bit over the next few months going into the summer season until that monsoon season starts to activate in the southwestern states, but relatively dry here as depicted by last night's run of the GFS in the southwestern states for the next 10 days. But still a lot of rainfall here across the heartland, across the middle of the nation, the central U.S., the middle Mississippi Valley, really the entire Mississippi Valley region, all the way into the Ohio Valley. All of that purple is 2+ inches of rain over the next 10 days or so. And some of that decent rainfall amount of 2+ inches makes its way into the interior sections of New England with some more moderate amounts over the next 10 days across the Mid-Atlantic and the Carolinas. But this is still the sign of a relatively active weather pattern here over the next 10 to 14 days or so. Well, in terms of severe weather prospects in the immediate term here over the next couple of days, not much activity later today. There can be a few strong to potentially severe thunderstorms later today from the Ohio Valley down across the lower Mississippi Valley region, but certainly not anything widespread expected, and nothing like what took place over the past weekend on Saturday in the south central states and on Sunday in the upper part of the Midwest. We go into the day on Tuesday and a little bit more of an enhanced risk here. Once again, Texas, Oklahoma, that's the area that got hit pretty hard early in this past weekend, and there will be some strong to severe thunderstorm activity working its way all the way up into the upper part of the Midwest and also over the Carolinas on Tuesday. Now, we've talked at length about this clash of air masses, with cold air masses continuing to push in from either the eastern Pacific or Canada into the western and central part of the U.S., and then oftentimes making its way across the nation into the eastern states. This is going backtracking a little bit all the way back to last Friday here. Just wanted to show what took place over the past weekend here. This is, again, Friday. We're looking at the 850 millibar temperature anomalies, and here you go with this rather common clash here between the warmer, more humid air off to the east, colder, drier air off to the north and west. Friday was a snowy day in Denver, for example. It snowed out the Colorado Rockies game, and temperatures did no better than the 30s. Friday and Saturday, quite cold across the Colorado Rockies. And here is that battle zone region here. We go into the morning hours on Saturday, and again on Saturday you had this outbreak of severe weather, including tornadoes across Texas and Oklahoma. And here is that typical pattern with the cold air to the north and west kind of driving slowly to the south and east and encountering a warmer, more humid air mass that flows out of the Gulf into the eastern half of the nation. And we go into the day on Sunday, and still same kind of a pattern here with kind of a shift to the north and east, warmer, more humid air off to the east over the Ohio Valley, and still some colder air pressing slowly to the south and east across the upper Midwest. And on Sunday, yesterday, there were a few tornadoes across Illinois and Missouri, right in this region right here. Again, that battle zone region. Now, let's move forward in time. Here we begin the day here on Monday. Looks relatively mild today in the Mid-Atlantic region, and then downright warm Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Probably high temperatures in places like DC, Philadelphia, New York City in that 75 to 80 degree range on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Certainly relatively warm this week compared to some recent weeks. But we're not quite done with the chilly air mass intrusions from Canada here. We go towards the latter part of the week, and then here is the Friday morning map, and here we go again, the potential for a clash to develop, a battle zone to develop across the middle part of the nation, and that dives to the south and east, and that potential severe weather threat could certainly extend into the upcoming weekend. We've had many cases here with colder than normal air masses pushing east from the Pacific Ocean into the western U.S. That pattern repeats itself during the upcoming weekend. Here we go with a cold air mass pushing into the northeastern states over the upcoming weekend here. We're talking Saturday, Sunday. This is the last weekend of April here. We're looking at the Sunday, April 27th forecast map here, a week from yesterday. Then we go into the early part of next week, and we have a big influx of warmer, more humid air pushing up to the north all the way across the Great Lakes region, but still some colder than normal air showing up on the maps here, in this particular case a week from right now, out over the Pacific Northwest. Well, I mentioned still an active look to the weather pattern over the next couple of weeks. It's not just the clash of air masses, the battle between cold and dry air to the west and warm and humid air. It's also, there's some support in the upper part of the atmosphere with a lot of upper level jet streaks to deal with over the next few weeks. This is as we begin the day here on Monday. Very vigorous upper level system this morning here centered over Wisconsin. There's even cold enough for some accumulating snow in the upper part of Wisconsin here. Again, a chilly air mass over the western part of the Great Lakes, and another upper level system here across the Pacific Northwest. But we'll kind of quickly walk through these vorticity field maps here going forward here, and we'll just see it stays relatively active. Here we go by the latter part of the week into Thursday, a decent upper level trough here moving into the interior northwest. We go into the upcoming weekend. A strong system arrives in the Pacific Northwest during the early part of the upcoming weekend. That slides into the south central part of Canada. Here we go into Sunday and into Monday, and then we have kind of an interesting scenario here with a lot of energy kind of dives to the south and east. This is now looking 10 days out here, and we'll see this here into the latter part of next week. Again, this is all the way out to the end of next week here. We're into the early part of May, but kind of an interesting system here. Dives all the way to the south and east, again with chilly air in the upper part of the atmosphere. This could be kind of an active weather pattern here, and a lot of troughiness out over the Pacific Northwest, and the ridge kind of sandwiched in between. Again, this is 10 days out here, looking at the early part of May here, but it's kind of an interesting weather pattern that we'll see if this actually turns out to be the case here 10, 12 days down the road. Well, let's wrap up with the surface maps, and again, significant accumulating snow across portions of upper Wisconsin here this morning into the midday hours here. Strong storm system centered over Wisconsin. We saw that upper level feature giving a lot of support to this surface storm system here. Again, cold enough for some snow out across the interior, higher elevation areas of the Pacific Northwest. Now we'll move forward in time. A weak frontal system crosses over the Mid-Atlantic region this evening into the overnight hours. Could produce a few showers, not a significant rain event. More steady rain looks likely over interior sections of New England, but even there, not a significant rain event. And then we get into the day on Tuesday, and not too bad across the nation, in terms of precipitation amounts, kind of light amounts here. And we saw earlier in the video discussion, could be some strong thunderstorms, maybe even severe down across the Carolinas on Tuesday. This is the forecast map for Tuesday evening. And then we go into the midweek. A lot of activity out over the middle part of the nation. Remember here, we have that clash setting up again at the latter part of the week into the upcoming weekend. Here we have strong surface low over the front range of the Colorado Rockies, cold enough for some snow over the northern Rocky states here, and we'll have to watch this area again for the possibility of some severe weather. This is at the end of this week going into the weekend here with that clash of air masses again setting up, and that cold front ends up sliding all the way into the eastern states over the upcoming weekend. And we saw the 850 temperature anomalies, that kind of a cold air mass arrives in the northeastern states by over the upcoming weekend. This is the forecast map for Sunday, this coming Sunday, a week from yesterday, April 27th. This is a cold Canadian high, a lot of colder than normal air pushing into New England by Sunday, and this entire part of the nation will experience yet another cold air outbreak, looks like, over the upcoming weekend. On the backside, some warmer, more humid air flows out of the Gulf right into the middle part of the nation. We'll go out a little bit farther in time here, and that chill in the air over the northeastern states over the weekend will slowly erode away during the early part of next week. This is a week from right now, and that Canadian high moves off the coast, allowing for warmer air to move into the Ohio Valley early next week and ultimately into the Mid-Atlantic. But there will be another chilly air outbreak for the Mid-Atlantic, the Northeast U.S. during the upcoming weekend. And still seeing some blue on the map here. This is again a week away, April 28th time frame. Some snow up across Canada into the Pacific Northwest. So still an active weather pattern over the next couple of weeks, with those occasional bursts of colder than normal air into the western states, into the central states, into the eastern states. That will keep alive the possibility of some severe weather outbreaks again over the next couple of weeks as we evolve from April into the month of May. That's it for now. For ArcfieldWeather.com, this has been meteorologist Paul Dorian.